The morning sun was just rising over Seoul when the sky turned dark. People walking to work stopped and looked up. Something huge was blocking the light, something that should not be there. Above the city hung a massive ship made of black metal. It was bigger than any building, bigger than the mountains. The ship cast a shadow that covered half the city. People started screaming and running. Similar ships appeared over Tokyo, over New York, over London, over every major city on Earth. Within minutes, the news was everywhere. Alien ships had arrived and they were not friendly looking. Kang Dae-ho was eating breakfast in his small apartment when his phone started ringing. He was the chief diplomat for Earth. His job was to talk to world leaders when they had problems. Today, his job was about to get much harder. The phone call was from the United Nations. Emergency meeting. Come now. Bring everything. Kang put on his best black suit and drove through the panicking streets of Seoul. Cars were abandoned everywhere. People were crying and hugging each other. Some were praying. Others were looking up at the dark ship with fear in their eyes. At the UN building, the emergency meeting was already starting. Leaders from every country were there on video screens. Everyone was shouting. Some wanted to attack the ships. Others wanted to hide. A few wanted to surrender immediately. Then the main screen lit up. Something was trying to communicate with them. The alien that appeared on screen was like a giant insect. It had 4 arms that ended in sharp claws. Its head looked like a praying mantis but much bigger. Its eyes glowed red like burning coals. When it talked, its mouth parts clicked together, making horrible sounds. "I am Fleet Admiral Vex of the Galactic Dominion Empire," the creature said. Its voice was cold like metal scraping against stone. "Your species has been marked for immediate subjugation. You have 72 hours to surrender completely, or we will demonstrate why 1,000 civilizations kneel before us." The room exploded with noise. The President of America was shouting about nuclear weapons. The Prime Minister of Britain was talking about evacuation plans. The leader of Russia was demanding to know how many ships they had, but Kang Dae-ho just sat quietly and listened. He had been a diplomat for 30 years. He had talked to angry dictators and stubborn kings. He had negotiated peace deals and trade agreements. This was just another negotiation. The other side just happened to have bigger weapons. He stood up slowly and walked to the front of the room. The shouting continued, but Kang cleared his throat loudly. Everyone stopped talking and looked at him. "Admiral Vex," he said in his calm, diplomatic voice. "Before we discuss surrender, perhaps we should discuss terms." The alien made that clicking sound again. It might have been laughing. "Terms," it said. "You are in no position to negotiate, primitive creature. Your entire world could be destroyed in minutes. Your weapons are toys compared to our power. Your military is nothing but insects to us." Kang smiled politely. He had heard similar threats from world leaders before. They always thought they held all the power. They were usually wrong. "On the contrary, Admiral," he said. "I believe we are in an excellent position to negotiate. You see, you made one critical error in your threat." The alien leaned forward on the screen. Its red eyes seemed to glow brighter. "And what error is that?" it asked. "You gave us 72 hours, Kang replied. His voice was steady and confident. "That is more than enough time for us to prepare a proper response." The alien admiral made more clicking sounds. These humans were different from other species. Most civilizations either surrendered immediately or started shooting. These creatures were trying to negotiate. It was amusing. "What could your primitive species possibly do in 72 hours that would matter?" the admiral asked. "We have weapons that can crack planets. We have shields that can stop your strongest bombs. We have conquered over 1,000 worlds. What makes you think you can resist us?" Kang adjusted his tie and smiled wider. "Admiral," he said, "you have conquered 1,000 worlds, but you have never conquered Earth. You have defeated 1,000 species, but you have never defeated humans. Do you know what makes humans different from all those other species?" The alien was quiet for a moment, then it asked, "What makes you different?" "We do not give up," Kang said simply. "Ever. When other species see impossible odds, they surrender. When humans see impossible odds, we get creative. We find solutions that nobody else thinks of. We turn weaknesses into strengths. We make the impossible become possible. The room was completely silent now. Every world leader was staring at Kang. Even the alien seemed interested in what he was saying. Admiral Kang continued, "You have given us 72 hours to prepare. In that time, we will study your ships. We will analyze your weapons. We will find your weaknesses. And we will surprise you in ways that no other species ever has." The alien made more clicking sounds, but they sounded less amused now. "You think your primitive technology can match the might of the Galactic Dominion Empire?" Kang shook his head. "No, Admiral. Our technology cannot match yours. But our minds can. Human minds work differently than other species. We see patterns where others see chaos. We find opportunities where others see problems. We create solutions where others see defeat." "This is foolish," the alien said. "You cannot defeat the Empire with clever words and wishful thinking. We have conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours." Kang nodded. "That may be true. But I suspect those civilizations all thought the same way. They all used similar strategies. They all made similar mistakes. Humans are different, Admiral. We do not think like other species. We do not fight like other species. And we certainly do not surrender like other species." The alien admiral stared at Kang through the screen. This human was either very brave or very stupid. Most species either begged for mercy or threatened revenge. This one was making promises. "Very well," the alien said finally. "You have 72 hours. Use them wisely. When that time ends, you will surrender or you will be destroyed. There are no other options." The screen went dark. The alien was gone. The room was silent for several long seconds. Then everyone started talking at once again, but this time they were not talking about surrender or hiding. They were talking about Kang words, about getting creative, about finding solutions. Kang walked back to his seat and sat down. He pulled out his phone and started making calls. First, to Dr. Park So-young, the best scientist he knew. Then to General Nam Woo-jin, the best military strategist. Then to Kim Jun-soo, the best computer expert. The other world leaders were still arguing about what to do, but Kang was already doing it. He was gathering the most creative minds on Earth. He was starting to plan something that no other species had ever tried. The alien had given them 72 hours. Kang intended to use every single minute. Outside the window, the alien ship continued to cast its dark shadow over the city. But for the first time since it arrived, Kang was not afraid. He was excited. The real game was about to begin. Dr. Park So-young was working in her secret laboratory deep under the Swiss mountains when her phone rang. She had been studying alien signals for months before the big ships arrived. Her job was to understand how aliens think and fight. The laboratory was filled with computers and screens showing pictures of space. Park had been tracking strange signals from faraway galaxies. She suspected that aliens existed, but she never thought they would come to Earth so soon. When she answered the phone, it was Ambassador Kang. "We need you in Seoul immediately," he said. "The aliens have given us 72 hours. We need to know everything about how they fight." Park looked at her research data scattered across dozens of screens. She had been studying intercepted alien communications for 6 months. The patterns were clear now that she knew what to look for. "I am already working on it," she told Kang. "These aliens are not as smart as they think they are. They have conquered many worlds, but they always use the same methods. They rely on fear and superior weapons. They have never faced a species that fights back with intelligence instead of strength." While Park gathered her research, General Nam Woo-jin was in his command center in Seoul studying the alien ships through powerful telescopes. He had been a military strategist for 20 years. He knew how to read enemy positions and predict their tactics. The alien ships were positioned over major cities but not in attack formations. They were trying to scare people, not destroy them. This told Nam something important about their strategy. Called Admiral Lee Hae-jin, who was commanding the Pacific Fleet. "The aliens want us scared," he told her. "They want us to surrender without fighting because they know something we are just beginning to understand." "What do they know?" asked Lee. That humans are dangerous, Nam replied. Look at their defensive positions. They are not treating us like primitive savages they can easily crush. They are treating us like a real threat. They are afraid of what we might do if we decide to fight. In a small apartment in Seoul, Kim Jun-soo sat in his wheelchair working at 5 different computers at the same time. His legs had been paralyzed in a military accident 3 years ago, but his mind was sharper than ever. He was Earth's best expert at breaking into computer systems. Kim had been quietly probing the alien communication network since their ships arrived. The aliens used very advanced technology, but they made one big mistake. They assumed that primitive humans could never break their codes. I am inside their secondary communication systems, Kim reported to Ambassador Kang through an encrypted phone call. Their technology is very advanced, but it follows predictable patterns. They have used the same systems to conquer hundreds of worlds. They expect either immediate surrender or simple military attacks. What they do not expect, Kang replied, is creativity and intelligence working together. Exactly, Kim said, as his fingers flew across multiple keyboards. I have found weaknesses in how their ships communicate with each other. But we will need to be very clever about how we use this information. Around the world, ordinary people were preparing in ways the aliens had never seen before. In factories, workers were modifying production lines to build new kinds of weapons. In schools, students were organizing information networks to coordinate resistance efforts. In studios, artists were creating messages that encouraged people instead of frightening them. Dr. Park arrived in Seoul 18 hours after the alien ultimatum. She brought her research data and immediately started briefing the emergency response team. These aliens have conquered over 1,000 civilizations, she explained to the gathered military leaders and scientists. But every single conquest followed the same pattern. They arrive with overwhelming force, they make threats. The target species either surrenders immediately or tries to fight them with conventional weapons. Either way, the aliens win easily. General Nam studied the tactical displays Park had prepared. So what makes them think humans will be different, he asked. Because we are different, Park replied. Every other species they conquered was already unified under one government or military system. They could defeat the leadership and the rest would surrender. But humans are divided into hundreds of different countries with different ways of thinking. We cannot be defeated by simply destroying our leaders. Admiral Lee leaned forward. Are you saying our disunity is actually a strength in this case? Yes. Park nodded. The aliens expect us to respond as one unified force. Instead, we can respond as hundreds of different groups, each using different tactics and strategies. They have never faced an enemy that fights like a swarm of independent units all working toward the same goal. Kim rolled his wheelchair closer to the main display. I have been analyzing their communication protocols, he said. Their ships are designed to coordinate perfectly with each other. But this creates a weakness. If we can disrupt their coordination even slightly, their entire fleet becomes less effective. How do we disrupt ships that are more advanced than anything we have ever built? Asked General Nam. We do not attack their technology directly, Kim replied. We attack their ability to process information. I have discovered that their coordination systems rely on quantum entanglement communication. Very advanced, but it has one weakness. What weakness? Park asked. Quantum entanglement can be disrupted by conscious observation, Kim explained. The aliens know this, but they assume that primitive species do not understand quantum mechanics well enough to use it as a weapon. Kang smiled as he listened to his team of experts. The aliens had made a critical error in judgment. They assumed that humans were just another primitive species. They did not realize that humans had spent centuries developing science and technology through cooperation between brilliant minds. So we have found their weakness, Kang said. They rely on perfect coordination and communication. If we can disrupt that coordination, they become vulnerable. But how do we actually attack their ships? Asked Admiral Lee. They have energy shields and weapons that can destroy our strongest aircraft. We do not attack their ships directly, Park replied. We attack their ability to think clearly and coordinate effectively. I have been working on a theoretical weapon that uses quantum mechanics to disrupt consciousness itself. The room was quiet as everyone considered this idea. A weapon that attacked the mind instead of the body was something no other species had ever developed. "Can you build this weapon in the time we have left?" General Nam asked, "Not just me," Park said. "But if we work together using resources from every country and every brilliant mind we can contact, then yes, we can build something that will surprise them completely." Kim was already working on his computers again. "I can help coordinate the construction through global communication networks," he said. "We can have teams working simultaneously in dozens of countries all building different components." Kang looked around the room at his team of experts. 60 hours ago, they had been ordinary people doing ordinary jobs. Now they were planning something that had never been attempted before. They were going to fight an advanced alien empire using pure human creativity and intelligence. "The aliens think they know how humans will respond," Kang said. "They expect us to either surrender or attack them with our military forces. They do not expect us to turn our greatest weakness into our greatest strength." "What is our greatest weakness?" asked Admiral Lee. "That we are all different," Kang replied. "Different countries, different languages, different ways of thinking. The aliens see this as chaos that makes us weak. But we are going to show them that human diversity is what makes us dangerous." As the meeting broke up, each person had specific tasks. Park would coordinate the Quantum Consciousness Disruptor project. Kim would infiltrate alien communication systems. General Nam would prepare unconventional military strategies. Admiral Lee would modify naval vessels for space combat. And Kang would prepare for the most important negotiation of his career. In 54 hours, he would either save humanity or watch his species become slaves to an alien empire. But for the first time since the aliens arrived, Kang felt confident. Humans were about to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. The real fight was just beginning. Exactly 60 hours after the alien ultimatum began, Ambassador Kang Dae-ho walked into the United Nations Emergency Assembly Hall. He wore his best diplomatic suit and carried a small briefcase. His assistant Yoon Min-ji followed behind him with a laptop computer and several data storage devices. The hall was packed with world leaders who had been awake for almost 3 days straight. Everyone looked tired and worried. Outside the windows, the alien ship still hung in the sky like dark storm clouds. Kang walked to the front podium and activated the communication system. Within seconds, the holographic display showed the alien fleet commander, Admiral Vex. The creature looked exactly as intimidating as before, with its glowing red eyes and sharp mandibles. "Have you come to surrender, human?" the alien asked. Its voice carried the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. "Not exactly," Kang replied with his usual diplomatic smile. "I have come to make you an offer." The alien's mandibles clicked together, making harsh scraping sounds. "You are hardly in a position to make offers, primitive creature. Your 72 hours are nearly finished. Surrender now or face complete destruction." Kang gestured to his assistant, who activated a wall display showing detailed technical scans of the alien fleet. Every ship was mapped down to the smallest details. Energy signatures, weapons placements, shield generators, and communication arrays were all clearly visible. "We have spent the last 60 hours getting to know your ships," Admiral Kang said calmly. "Very impressive technology, very standardized, very predictable." The alien leaned forward on the display screen. "How did you obtain detailed scans of our fleet?" it demanded. "Your primitive sensors should not be capable of penetrating our stealth systems." Admiral Kang continued, ignoring the question. "Your empire conquers through overwhelming force and fear. You arrive at a world, make threats, and the target species either surrender immediately or get destroyed by your superior firepower. It is efficient. It has worked on over 1,000 worlds. But it is also boring." "Boring," Admiral Vex repeated. The word seemed strange in its mechanical voice. "Explain what you mean by boring." Kang walked closer to the display screen. "Admiral, in 60 hours, my species has identified 17 critical vulnerabilities in your fleet design, mapped your communication protocols, and developed countermeasures for your primary weapon systems. We accomplish this not because we are more technologically advanced than you, but because we are more creative." Dr. Park So-young stepped into view beside Kang. She carried a tablet displaying complex mathematical equations and technical diagrams. Your Empire has grown complacent, she said, addressing the alien directly. You conquer the same way every time because it works efficiently against species that think conventionally, but you have never faced a species that enjoys solving impossible problems just for the intellectual challenge. Admiral Vex was silent for several long seconds. Its glowing eyes seemed to dim slightly as it processed this information. Around the assembly hall, world leaders held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. What is your point? The alien finally asked. Kang straightened his tie and smiled more widely. I propose a different kind of contest, Admiral. Something more interesting than simple conquest. Give us one of your smaller warships with a full crew to defend it. Give us exactly 12 hours. If we can capture that ship using only resources and technology currently available on Earth, you withdraw your entire fleet and grant us membership in your galactic empire as equals, not as conquered subjects. The assembly hall erupted in shocked whispers and gasps. Several world leaders started shouting questions, but Kang raised his hand for silence. And if you fail? Admiral Vex asked. Then we surrender unconditionally. Kang replied without hesitation. You can add defeated the creative humans to your list of conquests and rule our world however you see fit. The alien was completely silent for almost a full minute. Its red eyes seemed to flicker as it considered the proposal. Behind it on the screen, other alien officers could be seen discussing something in their clicking language. You would stake your entire species on such a foolish gamble, Admiral Vex finally said. You would risk 8 billion lives on your confidence that you can defeat trained warriors using primitive technology. Admiral Kang smiled even wider. We are humans. Foolish gambles based on creativity and determination are what we do best. It is how we went from living in caves to building cities. It is how we learned to fly when everyone said it was impossible. It is how we split the atom and traveled to our moon. Humans specialize in accomplishing things that everyone else says cannot be done. Kim Jun-soo's voice came through the communication system from his command center. He had been listening to the conversation while simultaneously monitoring alien fleet communications. Admiral Vex, he said. I am currently inside your secondary communication networks. I have been there for the past 18 hours. Your security systems are very advanced, but they follow predictable algorithms. This is what Ambassador Kang means when he says you have grown complacent. The alien officers on screen began clicking rapidly at each other in obvious alarm. Their supposedly impenetrable communication systems had been compromised by primitive humans. General Nam Woo-jin appeared on another screen from his military command center. Admiral, we have been observing your fleet positions for 60 hours. Your ships are arranged for maximum intimidation effect, but they are not in optimal combat formations. You are so confident of easy victory that you have not prepared for actual battle. This tells us that you are not as invincible as you pretend to be. Admiral Lee Hai-jin joined the conversation from her Naval Command Center. More importantly, Admiral, your ships are designed to fight other starships in deep space. They are not optimized for combat in a planetary atmosphere against small, fast-moving targets using unconventional tactics. You have never had to adapt to truly creative enemies. Admiral Vex looked around at all the humans appearing on various screens. These creatures were different from any species the Galactic Empire had encountered before. Most civilizations had rigid military hierarchies and predictable strategies. These humans seemed to think independently while still coordinating their efforts. Why do you believe you can succeed, where 1,000 other civilizations have failed? The alien asked. Because those 1,000 civilizations all made the same mistake, Kang replied. They tried to fight you using conventional military tactics. Starships against starships, weapons against weapons, technology against technology. They tried to beat you at your own game using your own rules. And you will not make this mistake. We will not play your game at all, Kang said confidently. We will create our own game with our own rules. Rules that favor creativity over firepower. Intelligence over brute force, adaptability over rigid planning. We will turn this contest into something you have never experienced before. The alien, Admiral, clicked its mandibles slowly as it considered the human proposal. In 1,000 conquests, no species had ever suggested anything like this. They had always either surrendered immediately or fought desperately with conventional weapons. This was completely unprecedented. "Very well," Admiral Vex finally said. "I accept your challenge. You will have 12 hours to attempt capture of the destroyer-class vessel Subjugator. It carries a crew of 200 elite Dominion warriors commanded by Captain Cho Sung-min. The ship is equipped with plasma cannons, energy shields, and advanced defensive systems." Kang bowed politely. "Thank you, Admiral. Those terms are acceptable. If you succeed," continued the alien, "we will withdraw our fleet and offer your species membership in the Galactic Empire as equals. If you fail, your world becomes our property and your people become our slaves. There will be no second chances and no mercy." "Understood," Kang replied. "When do we begin?" "The contest begins in exactly 1 hour," Admiral Vex announced. "Use your final 60 minutes wisely, human. They may be the last free minutes your species ever experiences." The holographic display went dark. The alien was gone. The assembly hall was completely silent for several seconds. Then Yoon Min-ji spoke into her communication device. "All teams, this is Command Center. Project Creativity is now active. 60 minutes to game start. Begin final preparations immediately." Kang looked around the assembly hall at the faces of world leaders who had just watched him gamble the future of humanity on a single desperate plan. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said calmly, "the real work begins now. In 11 hours we will either be free citizens of a galactic community or slaves to an alien empire. Let us make sure it is the former." Outside the windows, the alien ships waited in the sky like patient predators. But inside the hall, humans were preparing to do something no other species in the galaxy had ever attempted. They were going to win through pure intelligence and creativity. The most important 12 hours in human history were about to begin. The Dominion combat vessel Subjugator hung in Earth's upper atmosphere like a dark metal mountain. It was 3 kilometers long and bristled with plasma cannons that could destroy entire city blocks. Energy shields surrounded the ship in a glowing blue bubble that had never been penetrated by primitive technology. Captain Cho Sung-min stood on the bridge of his warship with supreme confidence. He had 4 powerful arms ending in razor-sharp claws that had personally killed dozens of enemy soldiers. His exoskeleton was black as space, and his yellow eyes glowed with the satisfaction of a veteran warrior who had never lost a battle. "The humans have 11 hours and 47 minutes remaining," he announced to his crew of 200 elite soldiers. "Maintain full defensive protocols and combat readiness. Their primitive aircraft cannot even reach our operational altitude. This will be the easiest victory in Dominion history." The bridge crew clicked their mandibles in agreement. These aliens had conquered 50 worlds and destroyed countless enemy fleets. Fighting primitive humans would be like fighting children with wooden swords. But far below on Earth's surface, the real game was already beginning in ways the aliens could never imagine. Kim Jun-soo had established his command center in an abandoned subway station deep beneath Seoul. His wheelchair was surrounded by dozens of computer screens showing alien ship schematics, communication protocols, and real-time data streams from around the world. "Phase 1 complete," he reported to the Global Command Network. "I have successfully infiltrated their internal communication system. They believe it is completely secure because they are using quantum encryption methods that took their civilization thousands of years to develop." "What they do not understand," added Dr. Park So-young from her mobile laboratory, "is that quantum encryption has a fundamental weakness if you understand the mathematical relationship between consciousness and quantum mechanics." Through the hijacked communication system, Kim began broadcasting subtle interference patterns into the alien ship's internal network. The interference was too small to trigger their security systems, but strong enough to create tiny delays in crew reaction times and decision-making processes. Meanwhile, teams of engineers led by Choi Hai-won worked frantically in secret facilities around the world. They were modifying weather satellites, communications satellites, and even old space stations into improvised weapons platforms. The aliens expected missiles, fighter jets, or nuclear weapons. They had prepared defenses against every conventional weapon in human military arsenals. They had not prepared for Earth's global internet to become a coordinated weapon system. Social media networks became coordination hubs for the operation. Video game players use their skills to pilot remote drones through virtual reality interfaces. Scientists in every country contributed processing power through distributed computing networks that solved complex equations in real time. The humans are launching something, Captain Cho reported, the subjugator's sensor officer. Multiple small objects approaching from various orbital vectors. Analysis indicates they are modified satellites and space debris. Captain Cho examined his tactical displays with contempt. Primitive satellites and floating garbage. Their desperation is pathetic. Ignore these worthless objects and maintain combat alert status. But the approaching objects were far from worthless. Each one carried components designed by Dr. Park's team, based on her research into alien biology and psychology. Electromagnetic pulse generators that operated on frequencies specifically tuned to disrupt alien nervous systems. Gravity manipulators that created localized space-time distortions. And most importantly, quantum consciousness disruptors that would interfere with the aliens' ability to think clearly and make rapid decisions. The objects took positions around the subjugator in a complex three-dimensional pattern. From the aliens' perspective, they looked like random space junk drifting harmlessly nearby. In reality, they formed a precise geometric array designed to create overlapping fields of quantum interference. Captain Cho, this is Ambassador Kang, speaking from Earth's surface. You have exactly 5 minutes remaining before we demonstrate why you should have taken our challenge more seriously. The captain snarled and activated all weapon systems. Your pathetic collection of space debris cannot penetrate our shields, human. Our defensive systems are designed to stop weapons 1,000 times more powerful than anything your primitive species possesses. Oh, Kang replied cheerfully through the communication system. We are not trying to penetrate your shields, Captain. We are not trying to damage your ship or harm your crew. We are trying to do something much more effective, which is what demanded Captain Cho. We are trying to confuse you, Kang explained. Confusion is often more dangerous than destruction. Before the alien captain could respond, the quantum consciousness disruptors activated simultaneously. The effect was not dramatic or painful, but it was immediately noticeable. Suddenly, simple decisions required extra mental effort. Coordination between crew members became slightly more difficult. Response times slowed by fractions of seconds. Captain Cho felt the effect first as mild dizziness and difficulty focusing his thoughts. Medical officer, report to bridge immediately, he ordered. But the words seemed to take unusual effort to form properly. On Earth, Kim Jun-soo monitored the alien ship's internal systems through his hijacked connection. Their neural efficiency is dropping. By 12%, he reported to the Global Command Network. Dr. Park's consciousness disruptors are working exactly as predicted. Phase 2, Choi Hai-wan announced from her engineering station. The modified weather satellites began generating carefully calculated gravitational fields that created invisible hands pushing and pulling on the alien ship. The forces were too small to cause damage, but strong enough to require constant navigation. Corrections. Captain. We are experiencing unusual gravitational anomalies, reported the subjugator's pilot. The ship keeps drifting off station. Navigation systems show conflicting data. Compensate manually, Captain Cho ordered. But his thoughts felt sluggish, like thinking through thick liquid. What should have been an instant command decision now required several seconds of mental effort. Dr. Park smiled as she monitored biological readings from the alien crew through sensors embedded in the quantum disruptors. Human consciousness evolved in Earth's unique electromagnetic and quantum environment, she explained to her research team. Our brains developed natural resistance to quantum interference effects. Alien brains did not. The third phase began as thousands of small drones, each no larger than a bird, launched from secret locations around the world. They had been built in just 60 hours using components from toys electronics factories and university research labs. Each drone was individually weak and harmless, but together they formed a swarm guided by artificial intelligence systems that had learned combat tactics from analyzing millions of hours of video game data. Sir, the subjugator's weapons officer reported with obvious difficulty, focusing on his words. We have incoming targets. Analysis shows thousands of small flying objects approaching from multiple vectors. The targeting computers cannot establish firing solutions. Fire manually, Captain Cho commanded. Use area effect weapons to destroy them, all. But when the plasma cannons fired, the energy beams curved away from their intended targets. Each drone carried a miniature gravity generator that bent space-time just enough to deflect directed energy weapons. It was another human innovation that the aliens had never encountered before. The drones moved in patterns that seemed random, but actually followed complex mathematical algorithms developed by Earth's best strategic gaming experts and military tacticians. They swarmed around the alien ship like angry insects avoiding weapons fire through pure unpredictability. 4 minutes remaining, Captain Kang announced calmly. You might want to consider surrender now. It would be less embarrassing. Then what happens next? Never, Captain Cho snarled, but even his anger felt distant and unfocused. The quantum consciousness disruptors were making it increasingly difficult to think clearly or coordinate complex actions. The alien crew tried desperately to defend their ship, but every response was slightly too slow or poorly coordinated. Their superior technology was useless against enemies that refused to fight conventionally. The drone swarm reached the subjugator's hull and began the final phase of the human plan. Instead of carrying explosives or conventional weapons, the drones carried magnetic clamps and precision cutting tools. Working with coordination that would have been impossible if the alien crew could think clearly, they began cutting specific holes in the ship's outer armor, not holes intended to damage critical systems, but carefully planned entry points that would allow the most dangerous weapons Earth possessed to board the alien vessel, human beings themselves. Captain Cho watched in growing alarm as his impregnable warship was systematically breached by tiny drones using tools that should not have been able to penetrate Dominion armor. But the quantum consciousness disruptors made it nearly impossible to coordinate an effective counterattack. 2 minutes remaining, Ambassador Kang announced. Captain, I strongly recommend you order your crew to stand down. What happens next will be much less pleasant if they resist. The alien captain tried to think of a response, but his mind felt like it was wrapped in thick fog. Around him, his crew struggled with the same mental. Lieutenant Song Da-bin floated in the darkness of space wearing a modified spacesuit that had been built in just 48 hours. Behind her, 11 other members of Earth's most elite Special Forces team prepared for the most dangerous mission in human history. They were about to board an alien warship and capture it using nothing but intelligence, courage, and the kind of stubborn determination that had made humans the masters of their own world. Entry point Alpha is ready, Song reported. Through her helmet communication system, we can see the holes the drones cut. Perfect placement, just like the simulations predicted. Each member of Song's team had been chosen for specific skills that would be needed aboard the alien ship. Former Olympic athletes who could move in zero gravity. Military specialists trained in close quarters combat. Engineers who understood alien technology. Linguists who had spent 60 hours learning basic alien communication patterns. Most importantly, every team member had undergone special training to resist the effects of the quantum consciousness disruptors that were making the alien crew slow and confused. Human brains had natural advantages, but additional mental conditioning made them nearly immune to the interference fields. All teams report, ready, Song commanded. Remember the mission parameters. We disable, not destroy. We capture, not kill. We prove that humans are too valuable to enslave and too dangerous to ignore. The 12 humans shot through the holes cut by the drones like arrows fired from invisible bows. Their modified spacesuits included tiny maneuvering thrusters that let them navigate through the alien ship's corridors with deadly precision. Inside the subjugator, the alien crew was struggling with impaired thinking that made coordination almost impossible. Captain Cho Sung-min tried to organize a defense, but every order took extra mental effort to formulate, and his soldiers responded more slowly than usual. Intruder alerts sounded throughout the ship, but the aliens could not understand how primitive humans had penetrated their advanced hull armor. Their sensors showed life forms inside the ship, but the readings made no sense according to their understanding of human capabilities. Song's team moved through the alien corridors like ghosts. They had studied detailed maps of the ship layout, provided by Kim Jun-soo's computer infiltration. They knew exactly where to go and how to get there without triggering major security systems. Lieutenant Song Da-bin and her squad of 12 Special Forces soldiers shot through the holes cut by the drones, wearing modified spacesuits that let them maneuver in zero gravity. As former Olympic athletes and military specialists, they moved through the alien ship's corridors with deadly efficiency. The alien crew, still struggling with impaired thinking, couldn't coordinate an effective defense. They were physically stronger and better armed, but they had never fought enemies who used three-dimensional thinking, improvised tactics, and pure stubborn determination. Bridge secured, Song reported as her team disabled the last of Captain Cho's guards. The captain himself sat slumped in his command chair, his four arms hanging limply as the consciousness disruptors made complex thought nearly impossible. Ambassador Kang's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "Captain Cho, this is Ambassador Kang. Do you surrender your vessel?" The alien captain looked around his bridge, now controlled by humans who had accomplished the impossible, using nothing but creativity, teamwork, and refusal to accept limitations. "I surrender." On the main Dominion fleet, Admiral Vex watched in stunned silence as the subjugator's surrender was broadcast across all frequencies. In his 1,000 years of conquest, he had never seen anything like it. The humans had turned a military engagement into a game of intelligence, then won by cheating in ways no one had thought possible. "Admiral," came Kang's voice, now carrying the confidence of total victory, "I believe we discussed terms. Your fleet withdraws, and Earth joins your empire as an equal member, not a conquered territory." Admiral Vex's mandibles clicked slowly. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders. The rest of the Dominion fleet hung in space, their massive weapons useless against an enemy that fought with ideas instead of firepower. "The humans have defeated us," he announced finally. "Not through superior technology or greater numbers, but through creativity." The word tasted strange in his mouth. "Inform the High Command that we have encountered our first true equals." As the alien fleet began withdrawing to the outer solar system, people across Earth celebrated in the streets. But Ambassador Kang stood quietly in his office, looking up at the stars. Dr. Park joined him at the window. "What happens now?" she asked. Kang smiled. "Now we join the galaxy. And we show them what humans can really do when we put our minds to it." Kim Junsu's voice came through their communicators from his command center. "I'm still monitoring their networks. The whole Dominion Empire is talking about us. They're calling it the human solution, the idea that any problem can be solved with enough creativity and determination." "Good," Kang said. "Let them talk. In a few years, when they're facing their next impossible challenge, they'll know exactly who to call." High above Earth, the stars twinkled with new promise. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy, not with conquest or surrender, but with the simple declaration that humans would always find a way. And across 1,000 worlds, species that had long ago given up hope began to whisper a new word: revolution.